Happy to welcome you all for today's session, which is in continuation of our previous session, which we had on 20th April 2023. And as a part of Business Excellence Entrepreneur Series, today we will talk about mastering finance management with the special focus on working capital management. Now, this session of 30 to 35 minutes will be followed by a session on the challenges faced by diagnostic distributors. Now, even in our schools and colleges, we always feel finance or account sessions to be very boring and not so interesting. But as a business owner, it is really important for us to have a better understanding of finance to run our business successfully with a financially disciplined model. I shall try to make this session as interesting as possible, but at the same time, I am requesting all of you also to make a little extra effort to remain focused throughout the session. Now, today's session is based on the questions received by us from our distributors across the country. Now, after receiving a large number of questions, we had discussions with several big and successful distributors. We picked up good practices which is being followed by these big and successful distributors in the diagnostic industry. And based on this, we have designed today's session. And in today's session, we are not going to teach you anything. We are not going to give you a magic formula, make your business big and successful. Then what are we going to do? We are just going to remind you a few things which you already know, or we already know. Now, we all know what is right and what is wrong. But because of the pressure of day-to-day business, we tend to do wrong things with good intentions. At that time, we need a friend who will hold a mirror in front of us and remind us the basics of business. And today, together, we shall revise the basics of business finance. Now, when we talk about business, according to you, what is the most important thing in the business? If you can type your answers in the chat box. Yes, I think someone has mentioned sales. I think Rajesh sir, yes, he has mentioned as customer. More answers, yes, profit, money, etc. Good, good, good. So many answers. All of your answers are correct. But according to the discussion we had with many distributors and with our experience, we feel that there are three important things involved in the business. Now, number 3 comes sales, followed by profit at number 2, and the number 1 remains the cash. Now, hence, it is important to start believing that out of sales, profit, and cash is the topmost priority and the most important thing in the business. And here, the cash stands for liquid cash or liquid. Now, in working capital management, let us talk about liquid. Now, it is very important to have enough liquid cash in the business to run the business. Now, no business has unlimited working capital. So, it is the responsibility of us as a business owners to use our working capital in a very, very prudent way. The working capital of the business is either in the form of paid up stock from different companies, or it is in the form of outstanding receivables to be received from the customers. Now, as a business owner, if we manage our inventory well, if we control the outstanding, and if we keep a tight control on the expenses, and if we do our business with a decent margin, then our business will have enough liquidity to run the business, and we can say we are managing the working capital. Now, let us talk about inventory, outstanding, expenses, and margins in detailed manner in the coming slides. Now, the first point is inventory. So, as a business owner, if you want to run our business in a professional and disciplined way, then we have to analyze the stock and sales statement at the beginning of every day. And preferably, we can do this exercise along with our auditor or an accountant. Then, based on the monthly average sale and based on the stock in hand, we shall prepare the statement of requirement of each product. Then, we will convert this requirement in orders and place the orders with different companies whom we deal. We all know the importance of monthly stock and sales statement and importance of monthly. But how many of us are really doing this? Possibly very few of us. Now, many a times, the situation arises that we are placing an urgent order to the companies or to the super distributor, and we pressurize the company to supply those materials urgently, and we make follow-up, which not only takes our time, but also it creates pressure on us as well. But such urgent orders can be reduced by placing properly planned orders at the beginning of every. Physical stock verification. Now, physical stock verification of high valuable products should take place every month. For other products, we can do this exercise once in 3 months to match the physical stock with the book stock. Actually, the difference between the physical stock and the book stock can have a very big effect on the profits of the business. So, it is recommended to have a strong administration and accounts team in the office. And if you have proper systems in our business, then our physical stock in the godown will match with the book stock in the ledger. And whenever we find difference between the physical stock and the book stock, let us don't keep this matter pending for a longer period of time. We have to take the decisions immediately to resolve the same and ensure that the things are in control. Now, the monthly review of stocks along with expiries can give a very big advantage. Now, this exercise can be done along with the key members of the administration and the accounts team. Because the near expiry stock, expired stock, and dead stock can take away a significant portion of our profits. And importantly, we have to take on-the-spot decisions to give huge discounts on nearby expiry products, which can help us to minimize the losses in a big way. And if necessary, we should be ready to sell these stocks with losses. Now, it is best to keep all the stocks at one location in the custody of a few trusted, reliable, matured entities. Now, bulk schemes and offers. See, generally, companies offer these bulk schemes and special prices. And why companies are offering these bulk schemes and offers? Because companies want to achieve their own targets and goals. The local field staff creates pressure on us to purchase in bulk so that their targets also will be achieved. But we have to remember that it is our business. Now we have to decide whether we have to go for these bulk schemes or not. Now, once we take a well thought and well calculated decision, then as a business owner, the responsibility to liquidate these stocks is with us. We should not purchase in bulk, thinking that the company sales team will help us to liquidate. And we have to remember that if any help comes, then it is a bonus for us. We should be ready to liquidate the stock on a whole. We should also remember that sometimes the field staff gives us promises and commitment about the secondary sales. But based on our past experience and judgment, we have to think and decide whether to believe such commitments, and accordingly, we have to take a decision. But sometimes what happens, bulk stocks purchased under undue pressure from company or bulk stocks purchased because of the temptation and greed can lead to expiries and loss. So as a business owner, we have to be very, very extra cautious in taking such decisions. Now, when we purchase bulk stocks at a special price, it is wise to liquidate the stocks as fast as possible. We should give additional discounts to our existing customers and sub-distributors to liquidate the stocks as fast as we can. Now, sometimes This may also be an opportunity to win some new customers at special. Sometimes we may struggle to get entry into new customer because of the price. And we can utilize this as an opportunity to get entry into the new customers. Now, we all know this business, but what happens in reality? We don't act according to the situation, or we don't act accordingly. We get tempted to hold the stock and sell it slowly at a higher price to maximize our profits. And then what happens? We get into trouble. So we have to avoid such situations. Credit to customers. We all in the diagnostic distribution business need to supply materials on credit to our customers. But a prudent business owner decides in advance that whom to give credit and whom not to give credit. This is very important for us as a business owner to decide. And we should also decide and fix credit limit for each and every customer whom we deal. Now, we shall decide this based on the market information, or sometimes based on our own experience and judgment. It is also very important for us to keep monitoring the total outstanding of each and every customer whom we deal with. Now, once we start approaching the credit limit assigned to a customer, then we should slow down our supply. And then what we have to do? We should go aggressively on the collection of payments, because payment collection is a very, very important part of our business. Now, however good our customers are, we should not block a big portion of our working capital with a few customers. If 60 to 70% of our total business coming from the top 30 to 40% of our customers, then it is a really healthy situation and we are relatively safe. But if 80 to 90% of our total business comes from the top 10% of the customer, then it is a very, very risky situation for us. We should always remember, friends, that we should not put all our eggs in one basket. Now, our suggestion for this is that we should not do business with those customers who already have a bad reputation in the market for unreasonable delays in the payments. Let us learn this from others' mistakes rather than learning from our own mistakes. And for that, we should choose our customers very, very carefully, because the quality of our customers decides the quality of our business. Don't forget this. We have to remember. The next point is the receivables from the market. Now, in our industry, selling is relatively easy. But where comes the challenge? The challenge comes when we try to collect the payments. In our business, if we have proper policies, protocols, and systems related to credit control, then only we will be able to control the outstanding and receivables in the market. And we should be clear how much money we have in our business to give credit and run our business smoothly. If we give more credit, then what happens? Our business will have a cash crunch situation immediately, which we have to avoid. But as I said earlier, we all know these basics. But what happens in reality? We don't act according to the situation. Because sometimes we get tempted to increase our business rapidly without infusing additional working capital. And then the chances are very high that we get trapped in a cash crunch situation. A prudent business owner should be able to differentiate between a big business and a great business. We should give credit in the market as per our capacity. Very, very important point for us to understand. We should not mess up our business in an attempt to grow fast. Now, in spite of all the precautions, there will always be bad. And we should realize that some outstanding payments will never get recovered from our customers, even with our best possible efforts. Hence, we should always keep in our mind a provision for bad debts of 1% of turnover, and at the end of every financial year, we should write off these bad debts and clean our business. Now, if we want to run our business to grow fast, and if we want to increase the total credit in the market, then we have to arrange additional working capital from outside. Margins. As a business owner, we have to decide for ourselves how much margin we want to have in the business. Now, there are some products like blood collection tubes, maybe rapid cards or lab consumables, and where some customers, where MNCs have kept the instrument and we shall be able to supply the reagents, where we have to supply within 6 to 10% of the margin. On the other hand, there are some products and customers where we can have a margin up to 40%. And these margins vary from customer to customer and product to product. And we should have our own thumb rules, systems, and policies for margins. And we should follow those. Because these thumb rules will help us in making our decisions. Now, having clarity with this within ourselves shall help us to run our business smoothly in a financial discipline manner. Now, sometimes we know that there are some customers who negotiates to us to a core and also will not make payment on time. Now, for such customers, we should not hesitate to say no very, very boldly. Now, this as a business owner, we have to be very, very clear. Now, every month end, we should check the overall margins that we had in our business. Very, very important point for us to understand. And we have to strike the right balance. This point of balance will be keep on changing. Again, this is a matter of business owners' own judgment. And one reality, friends, that what we have to accept is year after year, especially after this COVID pandemic, what is happening is the margins in the diagnostic distributions are drastically coming down. And there are multiple reasons for this. And we foresee that this trend will continue in the future as well. As a business owners, we have to be ready to handle such situations. Now, if we don't monitor our margins and profits on a monthly basis, and how to monitor this? With the help of our monthly profit and loss statement analysis. Then we may start making losses without even realizing it. So it is very important for us to monitor our profit and loss statement month after month. Additional funds for growth. Now, whatever the profits we generate, we keep that profit in our business. But sometimes we need additional working capital to grow our business very rapidly and very fast. Now, why we need this additional capital, or for what purpose we need this additional capital? And this additional working capital is required maybe for taking up an additional company, distribution from an additional company, or maybe for starting up a business with a very big lab or hospitals, or sometimes for tender purpose. And this additional working capital is required for giving instruments on reagent. Now, how and from where we shall get these additional working capital? Is there any options available for us to get these working capitals? If so, what is the best option available? Well, if you ask us, the best option, what we suggest is CC limit from the bank against the security. Now, doing business with the bank finance is a very good idea. And this is a very good idea if we are financially disciplined. Because this bank finance will help us to grow fast and increase our profits very, very fastly and rapidly. However, just because the bank money is available, we should not increase our expenses. Please remember this. Because if we increase our expenses unnecessarily, what happens? Our profits will come down. Now, is there any other option available apart from this CC limit? Yes, there is another option available, which is a term loan for a longer duration. But generally, banks don't give term loans for working capital. But sometimes some businesses manage to get these term loans and then they use it for this working capital. There is another option also available. What is that option? Which is getting money from private finance. Dear friends, don't opt for this option at all. We have to ignore this option. It is a very, very dangerous option. Because generally, these private finance companies offers loans at a very, very high interest. And if we offer this type of loans, then our business can get into a bad trap, where we keep running our business just to pay the interest to these private finance. So it is better to do a limited business peacefully and in a disciplined manner as per the available funds, rather than trying to expand the business rapidly with the help of high interest from private finance. Please let us avoid taking loans from private finance. Reagent rentals. Now, companies will always motivate us to purchase instruments and give those on reagent rentals. Now, customers will be interested in having instruments like medium throughput chemistry analyzer, or a 5-part hematology analyzer, or an ESR analyzer, or chemiluminescence analyzer on reagent rental basis. Why? Because there is no need for any investment from the customer. But as a business owner, we have to take the final decision. And it should be a very, very thoughtful decision. When we make such decisions, then the responsibility to make this reagent rentals a successful one is also with us. We have to remember this. We should always make calculations very, very carefully. We should assume that the customers will fulfill only 60 to 70% of the purchase, and no customer will fulfill 100% of the purchase. And I hope all of you who have experienced this reagent rentals will agree with me. Now, every distributor is not meant for reagent rentals. Now, as a business owner, we have to decide whether our business has grown up and we are really mature enough to have a reagent rental business. Now, we have to decide whether we have enough working capital with us to go for a reagent rental business. Now, we should be very clear how much can be invested in the purchase of instruments. Now, for that, sometimes we can always take the help of an expert, maybe an auditor or maybe our accountant. Now, just because the other distributors are doing it, we don't have to do it, right? Because the other distributors are running for themselves and we are running our business for ourselves. Premature withdrawal of profits. A very interesting and important point for all of us to understand. A diagnostic distribution business, once started, it generally survives. Slowly, what happens? The business starts to, and we start making profits. When the business is in the initial phase, And when it is growing rapidly, the business needs more and more money to grow. So in this phase, the most of the profits should get reinvested in the business for the growth of the business. And remember that this is not the right time for us to withdraw the profits from the business. But sometimes some of us decides to withdraw profits to buy big assets in this phase of rapid, which is not at all a good idea. Now, such investments in assets like car or house or office building or land should be done by us only after the business gets stabilized. Now, when we do take such decisions, generally such decisions are made by us because of the pressure from family or friends, or sometimes we take such decisions to prove our success of the business to the society. Right? I hope you will agree with me. But such decisions are taken by us many times just because of the limited understanding of working capital management. And as a result of such decisions, what happens? A sizable portion of our working capital goes out of circulation. Then the growing business starts experiencing a shortage of working capital. In extreme cases, sometimes we may face a shortage of funds for routine expenses like rents and salaries. Then our business can get into a downward spiral. A prudent business owner doesn't hurry up in withdrawing profits to purchase assets like car or house or office building or land, etc. The business owner purchases these assets only after establishing a strong foothold in the business. The next is a very, very interesting point. Business owner's salary. Now, employees working in an organization are getting salaries. But as a business owner, do we have salaries? Or do we need to keep salaries for ourselves? Let us discuss about it. Now, as a business owner, we should not mix up our personal finance with the finance of our business, because we are not same as our business. We and our business are two separate and independent entities. Now, this is even true for proprietary business with only one single owner. We should work in our business as if we are one of the employees, and we should follow all the rules and norms, policies, and guidelines. Now, initially, when we start our business, we all take a monthly salary as minimum as possible. Now, this is necessary and this is okay in the very, very initial phase of the business. But once the business stabilizes and comes in rotation, then the business owner should take a decent monthly salary along with the other employees at the beginning of every month. Now, how much the salary it should be? Well, if you ask us, actually there is no clear formula or policy or guidelines for this. This is actually a matter of business owner's own judgment. But that can be one answer. The answer can be like, we should be able to live a decent and comfortable life, and we should be able to save about 30% of the salary for various personal investments. Now, accordingly, we can fix our salary. Now, importance of strong and stable support team. Yes. A strong and stable team in the office for administration and accounts is as important as strong and aggressive sales team in the field. Now, why is this so? Why is this strong and stable support team is required? In what way they are going to contribute or help us in our business? Do they play any role in our business? Yes. How? Now, this support function team will help us to ensure continuous availability of the products. and they monitor the stock and sales statement regularly, month after month. They will help us to execute the orders on time to our customers. And the support function team will help us to manage inventories and help us to minimize the losses due to expiries. And this team will also help us to raise invoices without any errors. And not only that, this strong and stable team will help us to update the accounts and calculate the outstanding accurately, customer by customer and sub-distributor by sub-distributor. They will help us to check the physical stock with the book stock, which we have discussed the importance of the physical stock matching with the book stock in my previous slide. Now, they will also help us to follow up over phone to collect the overdue payments. So, spending money to build a strong and stable support team is an investment, and it is not an unwanted expenditure. So, as a business owner, let us consider that building a strong and stable team is very, very important for us, and we should consider this as an investment. Now, along with the strong admin team at our office, we should also have an expert advisor with us. And it will be a good idea to have part-time chartered accountant or a consultant as an expert advisor. And we may request him to spend maybe 3 to 4 days per month in our office as per our requirement and needs. And whenever this expert advisor is in the office, we should also be present in the office and ensure that we discuss our needs and requirements. Now, for his services, now this expert advisor may charge somewhere between 20,000, maybe 30 or 50,000. But again, as a business owner, we have to consider this as an investment and don't consider this as an additional expenditure. Because like the strong admin team at our office, this expert advisor can help us in a very, very big way to bring in a financial discipline in our business. Now, in what way expert advisors are going to help us? Yes. He will help us to prepare a cash flow statement, which is important for us to run the business in a financially disciplined way. The expert advisor will help us to set the credit limit for each and every customer and sub-distributor we deal with. He will also help us to identify the possible bad debts well in advance, so that we can prepare ourselves and take decisions accordingly at the right time. He will help us to manage inventory where the supply is not affected and we will not have a loss of business. This expert advisor plays an important role and helps us to identify the slow moving and dead stocks, wherein we can decide on the discounts and ensure that these stocks are liquidated as fast as possible to the market. He will help us to deal with bank related, this GST or TDS related matters, along with income tax related matters as well. Now, this expert advisor will also help us guide to take various capital investment related decisions, which as a business owner, we require such suggestions and decisions to take place. He will help us to calculate provisions for expiries and bad debts. The expert advisor will help us to analyze the purchase trends of all our customers, sub-distributors, and also the reagent rental customers if we have it. He will help us to prepare the profit and loss statement, which is really important for us as we all doing our business for making profits. But if you ask us, frankly, like most of these things can be done by ourselves, right? And actually, we don't require help of any chartered accountant or an expert at this. But the fact is that we all have to accept is that in reality, we don't do it. So it is recommended that we need an expert along with us who will force us to do all these activities. Now, with this, we are coming to the end of the first session. Now, here, we have not discussed anything new. And as I told in the beginning of my presentation, we have just hold the mirror in front of you as your friend, and we just reminded you the basics of the business plans. Now, thank you for your patient listening. Now, you can post your questions in the chat box. We shall come back to you with our answers. Don't go away. We are having another interesting session coming up. The challenges faced by the diagnostic distributors. So kindly stay and listen to the various challenges faced by the diagnostic distributors.
Thank you, Sri Krishna, for explaining us that how to master on finance management. In fact, what I found that you have given various ways to all of us that how to manage the working capital well. You explained us very well that how to manage inventory and why it is important to have physical stock checking. You suggested to fix the credit limit for all of our customers and how we can control the receivables from the market. And you have given us various ways to arrange the funds for running our business. And you also suggested to keep eye before we finalize a deal and pre-decide the minimum requirement of the margins. Also, you explained the importance of strong and stable support team and where it is important to have an expert advisor. Also, you explained to keep control on unnecessary expenses while running a business. Thank you so much, in fact. However, as we are discussing that while running business, many of the business owners, they face various challenges and various situation arises where the business owner has to take a key decision which can make or break this type of situation happens. Say, for example, how to handle the tender business or how to handle the big hospitals and chain of labs or once they're not paying in time or their requirement is high. How to keep financial commitments where we have so many vendors, we are handling so many companies as a principal supplier. Can you please discuss such few common challenges where usually we face day to day and while we operate a diagnostic distribution business?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. The challenges faced by the diagnostic distributors. Very, very interesting topic for all of us, I know. Any business will have challenges, right? We all start our business and run our business because we really enjoy managing challenges. The more the challenges we handle, the stronger we become. Now, we had discussed with few of our successful distributors in the diagnostic industry. And we understood that there are so many challenges as a distributor we are facing on day-to-day operations. But there are some key challenges which we have discussed with these successful distributors. And here we will be sharing with you the 7 challenges which we face as a diagnostic distributors, and we will also share with you some suggestions for the same. Now, without wasting time, let me take you to the first challenge. What is the first challenge? Challenge number 1 is the tender business. Now, tender business is a very, very specialized business. Only very few distributors are specialized in tender business. Now, tender business is a full-time business. It is very difficult to do tender business along with the regular trade business. Because the tender business needs a lot of focus and attention. And importantly, it also needs a lot of patience. The tender business needs different skills and attitude. And we have to remember that the skills and attitude required for the tender business are very, very different from the skills and attitude required for the regular trade business. In tender business, many times we have to work patiently for a tender. And finally, we are not sure that we will get the tender or we may not get the tender. Because there are a lot of uncertainties involved in the tender business. Uncertainty is a word which we have to understand, and it is really a great challenge for us. But sometimes, even if we get an order, what happens? Our working capital can get blocked for very, very long. Sometimes, some payments comes after a few years. And as a business owner, we should be prepared for such situations. And when we work for a tender order, sometimes we may get a very, very big order that we may have to arrange additional working capital on our urgent basis. So that we may have to use all our working capital, which is originally available to run the regular trade business. So in such process, what happens? Tender business can really upset and spoil our regular trade business. So what we should do is, we should not mix the tender business with the regular trade business. But we also agree the fact that tender business has its own advantages. But at the same time, we have to remember that this is not meant for everyone. The second challenge number 2, is exclusivity. Now, we all distributors are always interested in an exclusive arrangement with companies whom we deal. But if you ask us, exclusivity is not possible with companies which are already existing in the market for a long time, because these companies will have a well-established distribution network across the country. Then, whom and where to approach for exclusivity? Well, we can talk about exclusivity with new companies which are just entering the market. But we have to understand that exclusivity comes with a clear commitment of business volume and with several conditions. Now, going for an exclusivity arrangement should be a very, very well thought out decision. Now, many a times, the exclusive arrangements do not last for long. Why? Because we agree for several terms and conditions in the beginning or at the time of agreeing for exclusivity. But what happens? We fail to honor those conditions and terms. And there ends the exclusive. The needs and expectations of companies keep on increasing, because companies also want to achieve their target. They also want to achieve their own goals. And the companies are also not wrong from their own point of view. So now, as a business owner, what we have to do? Now, our suggestion is, let us give a great service to our customers. Let us build a strong bond with our customers, and let us ensure that we have a strong hold at the customer. And let us run our business in a disciplined manner and remain focused on our own priorities, rather than running after these exclusive. Now, as a business owner, once we provide great service to our customers, once we prove to the market that we have a strong hold at the customer level and we have a strong bond at the customer place, then what happens? The companies will start approaching us for providing exclusive. So we should create a situation where the companies will come to us and offer us exclusivity, rather than we run behind exclusivity. The third challenge will be distribution and super distribution, or we can say it as super stocks. Now, in our industry, we have distributors and we have super distributors. The distributors supplies directly to labs and hospitals. And what model of business is this? This is B2C business. Whereas the super distributors supply to other distributors and sub-distributors. Now this is B2B business. Now these are two separate business models. But many times what happens, we mix up these two business models. Now, when we mix up these two business models, what happens? Many times we fail to do justice to both the business models. So it is better to have two separate business entities. One business entity exclusively for B2C business, and the other business entity exclusively for B2B, which means for super distribution. Then the chances are very high that both the business models can really flourish well. Now we have seen some very successful super distributors in our industry. And why they are successful? When we asked us, so they have shared with us that they are very successful as a super distributor because they are very, very clear in their mind that they will not make even one direct supply to the end users, which means to the hospitals and labs. So the distributors and sub-distributors feels very comfortable and confident while dealing with such super distributors. Now, when super distributors decides that he will not directly supply to hospitals or labs, what happens? Generally, the mutual trust between the super distributor and his distributors increases very, very high. And we have to ensure that this mutual trust is developed between the super distributor and his distributors or sub-distributors. Now, super distribution is a number game because as a super distributor, we have to purchase materials in bulk, and at the same time, we have to liquidate these stocks as fast as possible. Now, here we need a very, very big working capital because all the time we have to purchase these materials in bulk. And very, very important that we have to operate with thin margins. Now, super distribution is a game where as a super distributor, it is not required that we need not be technically as sound as a distributor. Now, why? Because here we are going to deal with only the distributors and the sub-distributors, and we are not going to deal with customers. Hence, it is not mandatory that we have to be as technically sound as a distributor. But important thing as a super distributor, what we want to have or what we should have is we should have a strong administration and accounts team. And we should give credit to our distributors and sub-distributors. And as a super distributor, we need to have clear and specific credit limit assigned to every distributors and sub-distributors whom we deal with. Now, how to make this super distribution model successful, or how to make a successful super distributor? What we have to do. Now, as a business owner, we need to have an exclusive arrangement with few companies. We should purchase materials in bulk from several companies, not only one time, but we have to purchase materials on bulk on a regular and consistent basis. Now, we have to offer a broad product range at a very, very good price. We should motivate our distributors and sub-distributors to purchase from us on a regular basis and also make them that they make payments to us promptly on time. But let me accept the fact that We have several live examples in our industry where the super distribution and the distribution are merged well in one single business. There are quite few distributors who work as a super distributor and also as a distributor. The fourth challenge is moving to the next level. Now, what is the next level? It is either direct import or manufacturing. Now, as a distributor, when we start growing well, when we establish our business, and when we run a successful and profitable business for a long time, then as a human being, as a business owner, we start develop a desire to import directly or to manufacture. Now, this is a natural way of growing business to the next level. Now, both the ideas of direct imports and manufacturing are extremely good to move to the next level. But at the same time, importing and marketing or manufacturing and marketing is a different business model from our current diagnostic distribution, which we have to understand. The skills required and the infrastructure required are very different from that required for a diagnostic distribution. So as a distributor who is interested in importing and marketing or interested in manufacturing and marketing should set up an independent business unit for all such new activities. And sometimes we can even team up with someone who has past experience in doing these activities. And there should be a separate amount of finance allocated for this business unit, which we have to remember. Because this new business unit should not be mixed with our old diagnostic distribution business. The most important thing is that these experiments should not be at the cost of the old main business of our diagnostic distribution, which is presently a well-established, successful, and profitable business. Dear friends, we have to understand and we have to remember that the protection of the present business should always be the number one priority. Challenge number 5. The big hospitals and chain of labs. A very, very interesting challenge because we supply to big hospitals and chain of labs. Now, how we call this as a challenge? It is a challenge nowadays because we find big hospitals and chain of labs purchases directly from the companies. And we find this situation across the country. It is not confined to a particular state or town or city, but this situation is emerging all over the country. The big hospitals and chain of labs don't want to purchase products from local distributors like us. And since their purchase volumes are very, very high and big, the companies also agrees to supply materials to them directly. And sometimes these hospitals set up their own distribution business just to make all the purchases on behalf of the hospitals. When such developments takes place, the customers nurtured and developed by us for over a period of time can be lost overnight. And it is a challenge, right? So these are the inherent risks involved in our business. And it appears that this trend will continue. And as a business owner, we have to move ahead handling such challenges. Challenge number 6, keeping all financial commitments. Now, we business owners need to have a strong habit of keeping all our financial commitments. Some of us have the habit of failing on our financial commitments to companies and to our fellow distributors and sometimes even to our own employees. Now, why generally do we fail? Because we overcommit and we underdeliver. And this will really hamper our credibility in the market. and we don't realize the long-term advantages of credibility in the markets. Now, when we look at the top 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, 5 distributors in our city or town or state, or maybe in our country, the chances are very, very high that these distributors has reached to their top position just because of their habit of keeping all their financial commitments. So let us develop a habit of keeping all the financial commitments. The last and the 7th challenge, succession and exit plans. Now, employees have retirement, right? Now, employees retire at the age of 55, 58, or maybe sometimes even at 60. But as a business owner, do we have retirement? And if so, how to come out of our business? Now, this is a challenge, as many of us as a business owner don't understand how to come out of our business. And why this happens? Because a large portion of the profits earned over the past decades are there in the business as the working capital of the business. The profits got stuck there in the stocks purchased from various companies and also in the outstanding payments to be received from the customers. So in such scenario or in such situations, of how to move forward? Now, during our discussion with some of the successful distributors, we understood that the time the business owner realizes that he is getting old, he is growing old. So they will take in young experienced professionals as their working partners in managing the business, in running the business, when the distribution business is well established. So what happens? The young working professionals will take their business to the greater level, and they come up with flying colors. In some cases, where the distributors even sell their well-established business to other distributors. And this will happen, and this they will decide when they want to exit and retain. Now, in this process, both the buyer as well as the seller are benefited. Now, how are they benefited? The seller gets a huge money for all the efforts he put in to develop business for a longer period of time. And the buyer shall establish the business and he will enjoy the fruit of the established business. Now, as a business owner, what we have to do is we have to think out of the box. We have to go beyond the conventional approach, and we should keep our minds open for all such ideas. Now, before I conclude today's session, my last request to all fellow distributors is, let us try to understand the difference between the big business and the great business. Now, every big business need not be a great business. Every great business need not be a big business. It is better to have a financially disciplined, profitable, cash-rich, smoothly running medium-sized business rather than having a big business which is not financially disciplined and which is loss-making, messy, and trapped in a cash crunch situation. Now, just to summarize the points which we discussed in today's session, in working capital management, we have discussed about the inventory management, the importance of stock and sales, physical stock to be matched with the book stock, expiries, etc. has been discussed in working capital management, in inventory management. We have discussed about the importance of keeping the outstanding in control, fixing credit limit, and monitoring the outstanding of each and every customer whom we deal with. We also have learned about keeping a tight control on the expenses, how to get the additional working capital for expanding businesses, how to fix our salary as a business owner. We also learned and discussed about the significance of doing business with the decent margins, along with the importance of having a strong admin team, which will help us to ensure that we run our business in a financially disciplined manner. Now, when it comes to the challenges faced by the diagnostic distributors, We have talked about the tender business, which requires a special and focused approach. And we have also learned that we should not go after exclusivity. Rather than that, we have to create a situation where companies approach us for exclusivity. We have to understand the importance of having separate entities for super distribution and distribution models. We have also learned growing to the next level, which is either direct importing and marketing or manufacturing and marketing. But we should keep in mind that protection of the current business should be our top and number one priority. We should move ahead when it comes to the direct supplies to companies, to big hospitals and chain of laboratories. And as a business owner, we should develop the habit of keeping our financial commitment to reach to greater heights in our business. And finally, we have discussed about when and how as a business owner to get retired from the business, which is the suction and the exit plans. With this, we will come to the end of today's session. Now, let me thank the DDA for their support. Let me thank my colleague, Mr. Arun, Ms. Tangamani, Mr. Yuvraj for all their back-end support. And my sincere thanks to Prasenjit sir, Mohan sir, and Bhatt sir for all their support and guidance towards making this presentation today. Thank you all for your patient listening. And if you have any questions, you can post your questions in the chat box. We shall come back to you with our answers.
Thank you, Sri Krishna, for your suggestions on various challenges at last. It was really interesting to listen to your suggestions, in fact. And I would like to thank all the people who attended the session in the business excellence and this finance management. And we thank Mr. Nipun Sheth, Mr. Kamal Shah, Mr. Sanjay, Mr. Jaipurkar, and Mr. Atul Chaudhary, and all the members of DDA for co-hosting and supporting Peerless in conducting all the webinars. Now, I would like to request Mr. Nipun Sheth of DDA to share a few words from his side. Before that, I'd just like to say one point. There is a feedback form in the chat box. Take a little moment from your schedule and please try to give a feedback which will motivate us to organize more such sessions for you in the upcoming time. You can give your suggestions that which all sessions you want in the upcoming time as well. Over to Mr. Nipun Sheth.
Good evening, friends. Thank you, Peerless. Thank you very much for carrying out this webinar in such a professional manner. And I'm sure it has helped all the members who are online and all the fraternity of distribution, IVD distribution. And it must have been very much insightful. I would like to thank all the DDAs across the country, DDA Rajasthan, DDA Punjab, DDA Chennai, DDA Tamil Nadu, all the DDAs to actively supporting this session and bringing as many as distributors on board this webinar. Last but not the least, I am thankful to entire DDA Maharashtra team to support this webinar and actively contributing towards making this webinar most successful. But if I don't thank the participants, it will be unfair on my part, because any webinar, it can be considered successful unless and until we have the participants on board. So thank you very much all the participants for making this webinar successful. And I would like to share a few idea behind conducting these webinars. At DDA Maharashtra, we believe into the philosophy of educate, encourage, and empower. When we can talk about the distributors, all the distributors, they are all mature individuals and they know how to do their business. They have been there in the business line. They have been there in the profession when they come from the companies. So they know the industry, they know the customer, they know the people well. So I would say that they are already graduate, or some may be masters. So graduate need to be masters and master need to become PhDs. So that's a reason we consider educate, empower, educate, encourage, and empower is the motto of DDA, and that's the reason we are committed to bring this kind of these seminars, webinars, or educational series, which will help distributor to reach next level. Once distributor is empowered, he doesn't, he is capable enough to take challenges on his own, and DDA is meant to provide the platform and support to the distributors who wish to grow to the next level. Considering this philosophy, we would like to have few more webinars, and for that we will invite the suggestions and the suggested topics from all the people, all the distributors across the country, what kind of the topics they would like to address in the forthcoming webinars. One of the webinar which we are planning next is how to move from credit-based business to cash and carry business in B2B segment. One of our distributor friend, one of our fraternity member is already conducting business very successfully on the cash and carry basis, and we would like to invite him for guiding our members on how to move from credit-based business system to the cash and carry based business system. At the same time, how to use the digital platform to increase the customer base and increase the business. So hold on to the stay connected with DDA teams, DDA members. We will be announcing the date of this webinar very shortly, and we will invite suggestions from all the distributors on the topic they would like us to take up for the empowerment education of the distributors. So having said this, I once again thank all of you, all the participants, all the DDA members and Peerless team to success for this webinar, and wish you all the best and wish you all a happy sailing. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Nipun sir. Thanks a lot. So we end up the session with this. Thank you. And please don't forget to give your feedback to us, which will motivate us and which will help us. Thank you, everyone.